Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 17th of April 2014. So in today's news we have some great stuff actually. Well, for the first time I'm going to lead the show with a whole bunch of developer tweets because they were insanely relevant and interesting, so that was kind of cool. Then there was a new build for the Warlords of Draenor Alpha. That's been data mined a bit, so I'll have something just some stuff to talk about in regards to that. Then finally, a little bit about Azeroth choppers. Now, today's next video is going to be on a whole bunch of weapons things. I've actually recorded it, and just gotta say, some of the new weapons that were data mined are freaking badass, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, let's get into these tweets. First of all, we have one from Night Moogle, who is one of the Warcraft developers, and he said that the black market auction house is going to be restocked with some new items and things like that. I think this is pretty interesting, and I'm wondering though, will any of the rare mounts and things like that from Mists of Pandaria be added to the black market auction house? That would certainly make sense. I'm not particularly sure if there are many old things that could be added, but yeah, BMAH is being updated. One other little note about that auction house: you could probably snatch an okay deal these days, especially if you're on a pretty dead server. Honestly, not a lot of people are playing the game right now. It's a little bit empty, and there are probably one or two, mounts or things like that. Sorry. Mounts or something like that that you could just snap up because no one would notice. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. Now next we have a tweet from Mumper, who said that there will be some quests in regards to garrisons that are basically a preset chain that you get from things like, say, your fishing shack, your herb farm, the menagerie, the mine. Basically any of those preset buildings that are already tied into game features are going to involve some little quests with them. I think that's fine, actually. One of the things that I did enjoy about the farm was the little specific quests where you go out and get people's votes. I wasn't really a fan of the farm gameplay itself, but some of the quests surrounding it, the unique, story-styled ones, they were pretty cool in my opinion, so that's a nice way to do it. And it also means that the garrison is giving a little bit more content, which gets you out in the world doing quests. That's something that's really nice. One thing I'd like to know, actually, is, well, right now we know that the level 3 garrison has got 13 plots of land, I believe. Will these preset buildings take up any of those slots? I'd like to know that. I'd imagine they do, but, just a thing to think about. Anyway, next we have a tweet from Watcher. Now this is, I'm not too sure what I think about this. He said that there are currently no plans to change Burdens of Eternity to bind on account. He said that you can pass 496 gear to your alts, but you need to play those alts to get the 535s. Alright, so what do I think about this? Well, I think it wouldn't be too bad, based solely on the fact that Burdens of Eternity are insanely rare, at least in my experience. Well, kind of. I've got 4 so far in my mage within a week and a half, but I farmed quite a bit for them, and I got lucky on the Kukuru's chests, more lucky than I usually am. On my main hunter, I've only got 3 ever. 2 of those are just sitting in my bags because I had never had any need of them, and it's a little bit frustrating the way they're just sitting there. I don't think it would be game-breaking if you could transfer them over. Now, if you got Burdens of Eternity at a similar drop rate to, say, the 496 gear, then absolutely they should be BOA. But I think that because they're rare enough, it's really not a giant issue. It's weird though that this entire debate about how many things do we make bind on account, how many things do we limit to the single character that you are playing. And from a gameplay perspective, I do understand what they mean. They want you to really play that alt to earn that gear for the alt. And I suppose, yeah, my opinion from this probably comes from the fact that I just really wanted to boost my gear level up as quickly as I can so I can start raiding with that character. Though perhaps timeless gear is not really designed for people who want to do what I want to do. Maybe it's designed for people who would prefer to go out and farm, or maybe go do some LFRs, or maybe a little bit of flex raiding, but perhaps not for raiders. So, yeah, it's an interesting argument. Let me know what you think about that. I mean, sure, it would be convenient, but do you think it would be too convenient? Not sure. Then I guess there would be that one guy who, spends $600, boosts up 10 characters, then uses them to get like 30 Burdens of Eternity because there's some that are guaranteed drop, and just gets instantly geared in a few characters, which would be a little bit insane. Still though, interesting topic. Though I'm pretty sure that, I know this is different, but somewhat related, with the Motes of Harmony, I'm pretty sure they're going to be making those bind unequipped I guess BOA at some point. I'm okay with them being limited to your account, but it's the limit to the character that really just girds me. I have 2 tailors, I want to make royal satchels. Should I really have to go out and start farming these BOA items on those characters? No, I should just be able to, have a little bit more flexibility with that. Anyway, so that's that covered. Next, he dropped a really interesting bit of news, or at least something that I was previously not aware of, that Velythria and Thorim are being changed in patch 6.0 to allow easier soloing. Now, if you don't know, Velythria is a dragon, and a part of that fight, the majority of that fight actually, involves healing the dragon up. Now, I could do this as a hunter because I just stack Spirit Beast pets and then use their healing ability, but for a lot of classes it meant that you just couldn't solo ICC because you couldn't get past that damn boss. So that'll be fixed. And then Thorim is a very hard boss to solo in Ulduar. Well, I guess not very hard, it's just it requires precise strategy, and honestly I tried to do it once and I just couldn't be bothered anymore, so I left. So okay, it was lazy on my part, but they are changing Thorim to allow him to be a little bit more easy to solo. That's all good stuff in my opinion, and it just gives people more access to that content in a way that, well, I think that if you can solo everything else, it should be okay to be able to just get past Velythria as an example. Look, it was a bad fight anyway, so yeah, no real tears shed on that one. So next, Watcher said that they are going to wait until PvP balancing and testing is fully done until they worry about balancing the every man for himself human racial. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a second PvP trinket. So, yeah, they're going to wait and see for balancing that one. Then next, he said that Raid Finder is an important system, and it's the only way that a lot of people can experience raid content, therefore it is here to stay. And you know what, I'm okay with it being here to stay, but not in its current form. I think it's poorly designed, it's poorly implemented, and for those people who it's, sort of quote-unquote designed for, it leads to a terrible gameplay experience. It's not fun, it's not rewarding, and personal effort is rarely even rewarded too much. It's also just such a darn frustration. The last, I think, 3 weeks I've been doing LFRs regularly in 2 of my alts, and nearly every, I'm not even exaggerating here, but nearly every single attempt at the LFR has involved multiple waves of bullshit. For an example, I'll take yesterday's one. So, we got into the very final wing of Siege of Orgrimmar, that was okay. And it took about 40 minutes to queue up for that, which was painful in itself, but I had things to do anyway, so that was fine, right? So I do that, we kill Blackfuse, that's great, brilliant. We kill Paragons, well, after 3 attempts we kill Paragons, that's fine. But then we wipe in Garrosh once, a whole bunch of people leave, that, the usual thing happens, and then we wait for another, I think it was 35 minutes for another tank to arrive, and then it takes another 2 attempts to kill Garrosh. That took me like over 2 hours. It would be quicker to do it in Flex. It would be quicker to do it in Normal. Hell, if I was good, it would be quicker to do it in Heroic. That's a problem there, that's a problem. And I know that some of these things are going to be very hard to design around. Problems like people leaving, that sort of thing. But I think what Blizzard really needs to grasp is that this LFR content is not designed for people who want to spend 2 hours in a single raid wing. It's designed for people who want to go in, kill the bosses, see that content, maybe get a bit of decent loot, and then leave. So they should design it with that in mind. I think the bosses should be actually, I'm not going to say easier, but they should be designed in a different manner where the amount of abilities they have is drastically toned down. The abilities themselves still matter, but it should be just there to emphasize readability with every fight. And that you could even have little in-game pop-ups to tell you what to do, and then I think that in combination with things like AFK protection and proving ground gateways into the LFRs would be a pretty good way to do it. Because right now, I'm just not convinced that it offers the experience that those people want. Do let me know though, if you're a casual player, do you think that LFR could better serve you? And this isn't me hating it, okay, it is me kind of being negative on LFR, but it's not me being negative on it because of the people who play it, it's just the overall design. I don't think that it's really serving its target audience as well as it could. I think that Flex, Normal, and Heroic are all serving their audiences fantastically, and I think it's just kind of sad that the more casual-orientated mode isn't really serving that audience, because you need to be pretty damn hardcore to have the will to A, stay awake, and B, just stick with all that bullshit that goes on during LFR runs. That's not casual stuff. So if you do run a full LFR every week in every character, then kudos to you. You have more willpower than me. So there's that. And by the way, I know that may seem like there's a little bit of circumstantial evidence there. Yes, it is circumstantial. But there are circumstances that have appeared on multiple characters over multiple weeks in nearly every single run. And I've seen similar complaints from guildies and on comments and things like that. I just think it's a system that they should really sit back and have a solid think about and just come up with a new plan of attack for. Anyway, let's move on to another tweet. This is from Jeremy Fiesel, I think, and this is very good news to a lot of people. He said that the Garrison Defense event doesn't require you to drop what you are doing and is not time limited. Fantastic. So the Garrison Defense is just going to be a thing that maybe you're just allowed to do whenever you particularly want, as long as it pops. But it's not like if you're away grinding some mobs or doing a dungeon, it's like, oh, your garrison's under attack, drop what you're doing or you're screwed. That's not going to happen. So I'm not too sure exactly how they do it. Perhaps you could get a quest or something that would say, hey, Iron Horde forces are approaching your base. Come talk to your troops, like little sub-commander guy, to get started with the defense. That would be a pretty decent way to do it, I suppose. I'm really happy to hear about that Garrison Defense, though. It does add some nice gameplay to the Garrison itself that involves your own character. I think that's really important to just making that a system that is not... I hate saying Facebook game, but I guess the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood style thing. It's not just sending out your minions, you actually have things to do yourself. That's just so important to making this a really fun experience for people, and Blizzard seems to be nailing it in the head so far, so let's just hope that once we get into the alpha and beta and all that stuff, we actually get to see it in action. I, for one, can't wait. Okay, so there's that, all those tweets covered. Very interesting tweets today. Yeah, keep it up, Blizzard guys, you're giving me a lot to talk about. Anyway, so there was a new update to the Warlords of Draenor Alpha. First of all, that maybe just makes me think, oh, is that an update in preparation for, press alpha invites coming out soon? Maybe. Come on, Blizzard. So, no idea how that's going to pan out, but a few things were data mined. First of all, we now know about a new scenario called... I guess this could be a minor spoiler. So, 3, 2, 1, spoiler alert, and it's called the Fall of Karabor. Now, I'm pretty sure the Karabor is saved during the questing experience, so maybe there's just an element of that, and it's just called the Fall of Karabor, but the point is that we prevent it. Not particularly sure how that will go. But then also, they found a new currency called a Bloody Head. So I'm assuming this is a PvP currency, perhaps from Ashran or something. Okay, decapitated heads, that's pretty savage and brutal, so it's very much in fitting with the Warlords of Draenor theme. Now, there were also a whole bunch of tooltip fixes and class changes and camera positions and all this stuff that honestly isn't of much interest to that many people, but what we did find is some interesting garrison-related stuff. Now, the first thing we know is that they added a whole bunch of surnames and forenames, and it seems like these are just... it's like a kind of database that's randomly pulled from when it generates a new follower. At least that's what I assume this is going to be. So that's fair enough, that's pretty cool. They added that, but also they added a whole bunch of follower traits, so I'm going to go through them. The first one is Orc Slayer, which increases the chance for bonus loot when fighting orcs. Then we have Mountaineer, which increases your chance of success when fighting in mountains. Cold Blood increases your chances when you're fighting in snow. Wastelander increases your chances when you're fighting in the desert. Dragonbane irritates dragons. Demon Slayer increases your success chances fighting demons. The same goes for Beast Slayer, Ogre Slayer, then Gron Slayer. Vine Slayer will increase your chance of bonus loot when you're fighting primals and their minions. Fury Slayer will increase your chances against elemental furies. Void Slayers will increase your chance of bonus loot when you're fighting aberrations on undead, which is kind of interesting. Talon Slayer is the same for the Arakoa. Then there's one called Naturalist, which increases your chances of getting bonus loot whenever you're fighting in a forest. Then there's the Cave one, which is for caves. Gorilla Fighter increases your chances in a jungle. Urbanite is when you're fighting in a town, Marshwalker is when you're in a swamp, and Plains Runner is when you are on the plains. Now, I don't know how many of these traits a single follower can have, but there's a lot of them. That's a lot of different possibilities. There's so many different combinations there, right? Which means that you're definitely going to want a very diverse group of followers so that they can fit as many missions as possible. I think that's pretty cool, and what it's going to mean is that you don't just have the A-team group of followers that you just kind of throw at every single mission. Anyway, so that's it for that alpha news. Finally, I just want to mention that Azeroth Choppers comes out today. I'm not too sure when voting opens, but if you're in the Horde, be sure not to vote, and if you're in the Alliance, be sure to vote. And with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to pimp my Twitter before I go, so look at the video description and find my Twitter. I like to chat to people on Twitter. It's a really handy way to chat to subscribers, and the reason I'm pimping Twitter is because it's actually really enjoyable. So, yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that. Anyway, that's it for the video, and I'll see you next time.